Yes.
You ready, Pam?
Just for you to say.
You ready, Preston? Okay. I will call a regular meeting of the Ridgway Town Council Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Counselor Scranton. Absent. Kroger. Here. Montague. Here. Schuyler.
Here.
Scoville. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Lincoln. Here. Mayor Clark.
Here. Can everybody hear us okay? No?
No.
Jen better?
Yes.
Yeah. Probably just need to turn up a bit.
I figured my ear was pretty rough. I'll turn it on.
Testing, 1, 2, that's better.
We're gonna turn up the gain to make it so we don't have to be on.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doing that kind of stuff.
Nice to have somebody who knows how to do sound. All right, before we do anything else, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge a very good friend of mine who passed away last week, former Mayor Pro Tem Eric Johnson. Passed away last Thursday, long battle with cancer, some of you were aware. Last I'd seen him, he was doing really good, and then next thing I heard, he'd passed. So Eric was just an amazing guy. I can't remember how many years he was on council, Mayor Pro Tem for at least 6 or 8 years, maybe longer than that. And just a wonderful advocate for the town of Ridgway in so many ways. So I just want to kind of acknowledge that, have a moment of silence for Eric. So thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah, when I think about all the years he and I sat up here, it's a gut punch. So Godspeed, Eric. R.I.P. All right, that takes us to the next item on the agenda: additions and deletions. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Pam?
I don't have anything.
Nothing, Preston. Next up is adoption of the consent calendar. This is a bunch of things like minutes and registered demands. Is there anything on anybody we need to pull off? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Is that you?
Terry.
Second. Yeah, so motion by Polly, second by Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is public comments. This is established time on the agenda for the public to address us on anything that's not otherwise on the agenda. Anybody have anything? Jake?
Hello, I need to turn this tap.
Yeah, just tap it with your palm. There you go.
There we go. Got it. Hi, Jake Neese, here wearing my county commissioner hat. Wanted to just bring a few things to your attention, or two specific topics. Wanted to talk about the Our-Way shuttle. Looking at the contract, that contract with them was a 3-year contract that was signed in 2023. And so that will be up this year. And so the 3 governments are going to need to decide to either renew with All Points Transit or put something back out to bid. And reviewing that contract, looks like there's some things that we should probably have a little more oversight on as a group together. One is that we have the ability to regularly review the stop locations. And the second is that they were obligated to run 7 days per week with multiple trips between the municipalities each day. And they are only running weekdays, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And so just wanted to bring that to town council's attention and ask if I could find a partner, either one of the members of the council or someone from staff to work with to get together with all points to address those items and then also start talks about what we're gonna want to do moving forward now that that initial 3-year contract is up. So I'm not looking for an answer right now, but just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention and put that out there.
And Mayor, if I can speak on that real quick. Had a email exchange with Gary Clark of All Points Transit recently to set a meeting between Gary and and Gary Clark is the executive director of All Points Transit. Any of the other representatives he sees fit for All Points Transit and the administrators, as it kind of really calls for in that IGA that Commissioner Neese is talking about. So we do have that meeting set for, I think, early March to talk about some of the pieces that Commissioner Neese is talking about and why some of the modifications have been made to the schedule with the midday break and everything, because the local governments haven't been consulted as closely as All Points and the IGA kind of sets out. So we are going to have that conversation. Antonio representing the county and Michelle representing the city are on that invitation and should be there. So we can report back as a result of that conversation. But we really want to figure out what the approach is going to be, given that we're in the last year of that pilot project and those MMOF funds are running out soon.
Okay.
Something that has occurred to me, I know I talked to Commissioner Neese about this, is a stop we could ask to be included is the Montrose Airport. And although we would like this to be for workforce, one way we could help bring dollars into the program is by making a stop at the airport. And it might not be convenient for everybody in all flights all the time, but it is in support of public transit and would bring dollars into this program. And not to mention, then we bracket Montrose rather than only having a stop at Target, and which would allow other folks to get on. So just as you think about representing town, I think that would be something worth considering.
Yeah, and you're keeping the CNI focus asking for rides to the airport, so it's not, not just tourists who I think utilize that. It's a good idea.
I mean,
I wonder if there's a way to, do an airport loop so that everybody traveling from Ridgway to Montrose wouldn't have to go. I suppose you'd get off first and then you would get back on after that, so that would probably work.
It kind of doesn't matter what order, you're doing it cheaply. The concern would be that you don't want to take up all of the seats at certain times from the workforce piece of this goal. But that's part of something we could consider, and I know that's been brought up in other pieces. Anyway, just something as you have those conversations and think about stops.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We can certainly broach some of those ideas that you all are bringing up with additional stops. But we've always made clear that we have to defer to Gary and the folks at All Points Transit. Thankfully, they're the ones administering that MMOF grant, because I think it rests better with them than the city of Ridgway, who really got that initial MMOF grant. But they're the ones on grinding day to day, and they see those ridership numbers, and we afforded them some flexibility in seeing what's happening day to day and making sure we're efficiently using those dollars. And there's not many of those dollars left. So that's why figuring out the approach for the remainder of the year, whether it is more stops or carrying forward with something that they already have going, is going to be the bulk of the conversation, but we will report back.
Okay. Anything else from you, Jeff?
I did have one other topic about a level 3 EV charger that the town and county have kicked back and forth. That was they originally came to the town for Hartwell Park. There wasn't sufficient space. They came to the county, and we recently approved contracts to install that level 3 charger out at the fairgrounds, right near the entrance on Highway 550 to the fairgrounds. I just got a call from Daniel today that the grantor of those funds is requiring a toilet, where previously the grantor said that the proximity to the gas stations at the corner was sufficient. Apparently it is now a deal breaker. And so I'll be taken that back to Board of County Commissioners. We just had our meetings this week, so it'll be another 2 weeks, and they're obligated to spend those funds by the end of June. And so I was talking with Daniel about the arrangement there, and it would get kind of awkward to try to put a vault toilet somewhere on that county property. And the whole reason for putting that charger near the entrance was to try and get people closer to town, so that we don't have people parking and hanging out far away from town. And so just wanted to, I threw it around with him. Just want to introduce the potential possibility of maybe doing that near the visitor center, which would be town property. That would put it back at the town, but I know that there's an area there that's already kind of used for a park and ride and parking spaces. And then there's some dead space in between the track and like the visitor center lawn that maybe could be a better spot for a vault toilet, which would be entirely paid for by the grant. So I was just doing some brainstorming with him, and just wanted to make you all aware of that. I know it would be a compressed timeline. It might be too late, and so maybe the county might just have to do it awkwardly. But I saw the opportunity to put some more people closer to the visitor center, closer to town, rather than stick it in the back corner of the 4-H center.
So, three-phase interconnect potential there?
They were gonna run 3-phase to the entrance. That's part of the money of the grant. And so wherever they need to run that 3-phase, that's all 100% paid for. In addition to the toilet, in addition to the transformers. So
That
we were
sounds
just,
like a great location.
we were just doing some brainstorming. Ultimately, it would be up to the town. So just wanted to make you aware of that, since that is running into a tight.
Thanks. Yeah, we're open to trying to find a place closer to town. It obviously makes good sense to get people closer to.
And I think Daniel will be talking with Preston about that, but just wanted to make you aware.
Yes, thanks, Jake.
Yeah, and I'll just real quick, I have talked with Daniel 3 different times today. And well aware of this alternative proposal, and so something may come before you next month. But staff needs some time to evaluate everything and be able to comprehensively present information to you all, so that may come March 11th.
Good, great, thanks, Preston. Anyone else have anything, public comment that's related to something not otherwise on the agenda? Come on.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm not on the agenda yet. But in light of our political climate nationwide, I'd like to share a few personal thoughts tonight that have been on my heart. My name is Matthew, and I'm here because I deeply care about Ridgway, not just as a business owner, but as someone who calls this place home and wants to see it thrive in every possible way. I want to start by saying this clearly. My desire is to help Ridgway be the very best that we could possibly be. We live in an incredible town. We're surrounded by natural beauty, hardworking people, creativity, and a strong sense of independence. But like many communities, especially small ones, we also face challenges. And one thing I've noticed over time is that when issues arise, we often default to protest instead of conversation, or most often we get behind our screens. All of us do, or a lot of us do, including me, and we post and we repost our political views. I believe often being inconsiderate of others who don't think like us. Sometimes we can act like we know all the answers, despite roughly half the country at any given time disagrees with us, and we talk at each other, not with each other. Now, I believe protest has its place, social media has its place, strong opinions have their place, but I believe something essential gets lost when there's no room for calm, respectful dialogue, when people don't feel heard, or when conversations only happen in public pressure moments instead of around a table. I believe true community isn't built through shouting, it's built through listening. And that's why I'm here tonight. I want to offer something tangible for the council, for our town, for our people to enjoy, to maybe help bridge that gap and bring more community in our town. And maybe just maybe be an example for our nation. I own and operate a few businesses here at Ridgway, and I would like to formally offer these spaces free of charge Colorado Boy Pub and Brewery, Colorado Boy Depot, Colorado Girl Coffee, for constructive, community-focused conversations when there's a need. This is not about politics, it's not about taking sides, and it's definitely not about controlling outcomes. It's about creating space, literal space for people to come and sit down together and talk. Talk about concerns, talk about ideas. And maybe most importantly, talk about solutions, not in a confrontational setting, but in an environment where people feel safe, respected, and encouraged to listen as much as they speak. The only condition I place on this offer is that the intention of the gathering be productive, that it's moving in the direction of understanding, collaboration, and building community rather than division. I truly believe that when people share a table, something changes. When there's coffee or food, or maybe even a good pint of craft beer, walls come down. When conversations slow down, perspectives also widen. Mine certainly has. Ridgway has the opportunity to be a model for how small towns handle disagreement, not by avoiding it, but by engaging with it thoroughly and respectfully. We don't need to agree on everything, certainly, to move forward together, but we do need to keep talking. I'm not asking the town to endorse this idea tonight. I'm not asking for funding or policy changes. I simply want the council and the community to know that these resources are available freely and sincerely, because I believe connection is worth investing in. If even one difficult issue can be talked through instead of talked over, if even a few neighbors can walk away understanding each other a little bit better, then that's worth it. Ridgway is special, and places like this stay special when people are willing to show up, not just to speak, but to listen. Thank you for your time, for your service to this town, and for everything you do to keep Ridgway moving forward.
Thanks, Matthew. Anyone else? Okay, that takes us to public requests and presentations. Item number 5 is a request for a letter of support for Uray County's enrollment in AARP's Livable Communities Program. Vicki, your name is on this.
It is, but,
Tom's gonna take it?
Speaking.
Okay, come on up, Tom. We have to let it in front of us.
Yeah, Tom Heffernan. I'm a member of the Social Justice Committee. It's all here. And last year, Vicki and Carolyn did a lot of hard work on a grant to a private foundation, and it was all about attention to our aging community here. I'm not one of those, I'm gonna be 86, but yeah.
Young buck.
So, yeah. So, anyway, the whole idea was, for the grant was to have, address such things as, isolation and, medical issues, that type of thing. So anyway, this year we discovered that AARP has a network of age-friendly communities, and there's actually 22 counties and localities in the state that actually this is ongoing now. And so it's the same idea, these issues that we wanted the grant for, we can get through AARP. And we're not asking for money or anything, we're just asking for, basically for the town to support it. There are the network the network helps residents and local leaders assess community needs and develop plans to improve housing, transportation, public spaces, social engagement, and other areas that affect quality of life for aging residents. We would like to apply for membership in the network and would appreciate a letter from Ridgway in support of that effort.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
I would guess that there's unanimous approval for that idea up here. especially from us younger ones. Yeah. Being the youngest, not very good here.
Actually, also want to throw out that there's a lot of those 8 domains that are on here, there's a lot of them that we also would see as benefiting everyone. And youth in particular, when I think about transportation concerns and the questions around the R-way shuttle that Commissioner Neese brought up, I think it's awesome if we can leverage some of those things to make our community better for our aging population. They're likely also to help our younger population and our community as a whole. So thank you for your work on this.
Takes a village, definitely. Anybody in the audience have further comments? I just like to make sure everybody has a chance to speak. Anybody on Zoom? Tom,
Yeah, I had one comment, I used to take a,
come on up to the mic
I'm
again.
sorry. I used to take a person to, ski for light for a number of years in South Dakota. And, interestingly, they have, every year, I don't know if y'all have heard of it, but they have a Miss Wheelchair America, okay? And it's a great bunch of gals. One year we had actually 4 of them, 3 formal ones. And, you know, they whip around like driving a hot chocolate. You know what I mean? Just comical, you know, they'd go down one of the hotels that was real old and they had no ramps or anything, you know. And they just whip down those stairs, you know, just like nothing, and fly down the street. And I'll tell you just one brief story that's kind of funny about that. But the point I'm gonna make before that is, so I don't forget, is that each year, what Wheelchair America does is they go to different towns. They spend the whole year doing it. And what they do is they observe what the needs are in the town or the city or whatever, you know. And I was thinking that might be something to think about, is see if we couldn't get on the list, you know. Because who knows better than someone that's in a wheelchair already. But just very briefly, this was really funny. One year, this is in Deadwood, Colorado. There's a lot of snow on the ground and everything. And this old hotel that actually people like Roosevelt went there and everything is really interesting. It's been completely remodeled now. It's not like it was, but it was very old fashioned. So if you wanted air conditioning, you just open the window. So Russ, who's the fellow I was taking that has EMS, he wakes me about 1 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Tom, there's a hell of a racket out there, you know, see what's going on." So I go there and I open the window and I look out and I see all these people that are paraplegic in wheelchairs and everything. And they're outside of that hotel where Wild Bill Hickok got shot in the back, you know. And of course they had a few and everything, you know. And so, you know, they're singing at the top of their lungs. And I said, "Oh, Russ, Jesus, a cop come." That was the smartest cop in the world. "How are you all doing?" "Oh, we're doing great." "Well, have a good night." And he left, you know. You can just picture him jailing him, you know. So anyway.
Sounds like it's so nice.
That is a really good point. This is something that I've thought about for many, many years. Ridgway is not like our businesses are not super accessible. And I think that's something that should really be addressed and thought about, not just for humans who are in wheelchairs, but for people who use crutches, for people who have different ambulatory needs. We're just not, and I understand it's because we have old buildings, but something to consider in the future is making it so everybody can be here, because we like to be a pretty welcoming community.
It's been talked about a bunch over the years, but there's some real challenges.
Yeah.
Kristen Arnold brought it up last year, that one of the big challenges is just getting street shoveled. Right, like that is, you know, I've watched actually we've only had a few snowstorms this year, but definitely watched some older folks picking their way across our sidewalks. Someone who was less old almost fell into me last night, like leaving a restaurant. Like these we build up the ice, and even though it hasn't snowed for a while, maybe the AARP grant could help us communicate that piece, the importance to business owners of, you don't only do it because you gotta do it by town code, but that's how you are welcoming to all of our residents. Again, things that are of particular concern maybe to older populations, but also benefit everybody.
Yeah. All right, somebody want to make a motion to,
Move to approve the letter of support.
I'll second that.
motion by Josie, second by Beth, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Didn't think so? Passes unanimously, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, that takes us to our lone public hearing for tonight. This item was tabled last month, but it's back before us tonight. It's item number 6, application for a tavern liquor license, Colorado Coffee LLC. Matthew, buyer member and doing businesses, Colorado Royal Coffee at 620 Clinton. Pam, you got this, your name on this.
Yes. The town has received an application for a tavern liquor license from Colorado Girl LLC. As you just stated, the member and only shareholder is Matthew Byer. And it's for leased premises that are at 620 Clinton Street. The trade name of the business is Colorado Girl Coffee. It's an existing business. The approval would include licensing the sidewalk on the north side of the building for outdoor consumption of alcohol. The issuance of a revocable encroachment permit to place tables and chairs and serve both the food and beverages, including the alcoholic beverages on the sidewalk, is also on the agenda tonight. The council did receive this at the last meeting and asked for the applicant to be here and he is here.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add, Matthew? Please.
I appreciate it. I'll be willing to take any questions. This is my first rodeo, as you can tell by trying to get in that door. But no, I mean, a year ago, I bought Colorado Boy and Colorado Boy Depot, which both had existing licenses. I've never applied for a liquor license before. So I went through the proper channels and talked to Pam for many hours, got to know each other very well. Didn't know I was supposed to be here last month. I totally could have been. So yeah, I'm here to answer any questions. Maybe if anybody has specific questions about kind of our use, be happy to, or our ideas and our vision for alcohol use. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody on council have any questions for Matthew?
Yeah, what is the proposed use?
So, we're primarily a coffee shop. We're not at all planning to be a full bar or late night bar. But one of the distinctives that we're gonna start very soon is a thing called Gather, which are community focused, family style dinners. So very small dinners, 12 people or so. Could be private parties, could be the council has a Christmas party there, it could be a number of things. But during those dinners, we'd like the opportunity to serve beer or wine. Again, it's not gonna be open late, it's just gonna be for our community. And I think sometimes as we gather around the table, some people like to have a glass of wine or maybe a pint of beer.
Yeah, last month there were different community members who lived at Space to Create who were concerned about the lateness
Sure.
concept and just what does that look like? My bedroom overlooks
Yeah.
the Colorado Girl Coffee sidewalk, and so that was just one of our concerns.
Totally understandable. The Sure stays open a lot later than us. The Boy typically is closed at 8, 9 o'clock in the summers. I'm not sure about Chloe's hours. Tacos and beer would probably be open well past when we would be open. But yeah, it's pretty low key. It's just that I want to be by the book and make sure we have all the appropriate permits but yeah, it's pretty low key, just to be able to legally do it.
And your kitchen is adequate?
Oh, yes, sir. In fact, Audrey from the health department came by today or yesterday, I think, and gave us a, all clear. So everything's good. And it'll be very pared down. I mean, we don't have room. We don't have a lot of room. So yeah,
That's for sure.
I also think like we went through a very, very similar conversation when the patio opened. And there was lots of concern from neighbors about noise at the patio. And we actually came back a year later and actually allowed them to stay open an additional hour. And as I thought about this, and I'm sorry I couldn't be here last month, I think noise concerns are a different issue, right? And you put yourself in a bad position as a business owner if there are noise concerns. And I know many of us have been at establishments in Ridgway, and in general, our business owners do a really good job of managing noise. And so my take would be, I think this council should not stand in the way of somebody doing business and however they feel fit, whether that's someone having a mimosa in the morning or a glass of wine in the afternoon or a beer late afternoon, whatever works. And just understanding that, and as you spoke to earlier in this meeting, the importance of building community and building those pieces, like the consequences are for noise complaints and your business being disruptive rather than just assuming that might be the case.
These meetings would most likely be dinners for 12 around a square table inside. And so, yeah, kind of low key vibe.
I think folks, some of their concerns stemmed from, once we give you a license, you have a license and it may
Sure.
not be that way. And so I'm just speaking up in general for you having a liquor license doesn't lead me to a ton of concern because that will come up on renewal and other concerns.
Sure. I could say one thing you maybe didn't ask about, but maybe might help. The depot is our primary music venue and it's kind of in the industrial park and we do live music free for the community twice a week. Some of us here have played there several times. And, but the girl is not really set up for live music. It's not the ideal venue. If anything, we might have a guitar in the corner for a special event. But it's just not that vibe. It's a very small coffee shop, a lot of grab and go. So, but that's a good concern. Anybody else?
Based on your previous observations about our political climate, I would avoid having a Thanksgiving dinner.
Have one there.
No, I'd avoid it.
Okay. And by the way, back to those comments, that was meant to be for all of us, including me, because, the thing that keeps us, I think one thing that's distinctive about our town is that we all love this place, but we all think differently. And I think that one of the reasons I wanted to start the Girl is to have another gathering place that people can have those conversations, one-on-one, 2 or 3 people, those family style dinners, we're gonna call gather, for a building of community. Yes, sir.
How often are you gonna have those, just personally?
I would think we haven't really started yet. We had one private party, I think back in December. Once a week, maybe twice a week. Again, I don't wanna overwhelm. I'm trying to be creative with the space that we have. It's not huge, but we have wonderful staff and they want to do this. They're excited about it. And so maybe a couple times a week, we'll see.
Okay, great. Let's see, public hearing, we have to do this kind of semi-formally. I will open it up for public comment. Is anybody in the room or on Zoom that wants to say anything about this application? Going once, going twice. Hearing none, I will close the public comment period and bring it back up here for the deliberation.
I have no further concerns, which is last month not being able to ask questions and have community concerns that made us table it, so.
Yep.
But he's answered my concerns.
So I'll move to approve the application for a tavern liquor license for Colorado Grill Coffee LLC, member Matthew Byer, doing business as Colorado Grill Coffee at 620 Clinton Street.
I'll second that.
All right, motion is made by Terry, seconded by Beth. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. All righty, that takes us to item number, get back to my agenda. Item number 7 under policy matters, issuance of revocable encroachment permit to Colorado Grill Coffee to serve food and beverages, including alcoholic beverages on the sidewalk adjacent to 620 Pam again.
Yes, so this is the permit that I just discussed. This permit is a revocable permit that allows the serving of food and beverage on the sidewalk, requires a 6-foot passage. And it will allow also the serving of alcohol and will be made a part of the liquor license application that goes to the state.
Okay. This is not a public hearing, so it's more an informal process. Comments, questions up here?
I have some questions. Will it need to be cordoned off
I've gotten that.
on the alley end?
Wouldn't it be the same as anything?
Just type of beer or.
Yeah.
Well, I know that, 610 has had, had theirs cordoned off before, just a question.
Well, that isn't, I mean, Matthew maybe can speak to where that,
I was actually Pam.
sorry.
We're not requiring that.
Okay, that was my question.
The council can require anything, like.
I think if I could throw out, from Colorado Boy, Charbonneau, Chloe's on down, what's kind of been the process that I've seen evolve is that either you put a 4x4 in a 5-gallon bucket of concrete and post a sign on it that says no alcohol beyond this point, and you just put it at the edge of your property. And that seems like what most businesses do. I think you still have that at the Colorado Boy.
We do,
Yeah.
and I'm learning about liquor laws. I mean, I've been through liquor training and stuff, but as far as the actual laws and where you can go with it, where you can't, I know one of the discussions I had with Pam recently was because the girl doesn't have a back door to go to, there's a space behind the building that we might make to seating area. And one of her concerns, and I didn't follow up and I didn't look at the laws yet, but her understanding was that because there's no direct access, then there is you're not allowed to go there. You can't walk through the alley with, even though it's right there. By the letter of the law, spirit of the law, I don't see a big deal with it. The question I would have was how does 610 do that? Because they don't let people go through the front for the concerts in the back. They come through the back. So,
But they're not carrying.
But their
alcohol.
premise, it's all on their premises
Yeah.
too,
So
so
what's-
they license the
so,
premises.
yeah, so my premise would be that what I'm leasing it for the girl goes back to the alley, which is that same alley. But again, I'm not really requesting space down there.
What I'm saying is that your clientele can't take alcohol through the alley to the back of your business.
Correct, that's how I
They can-
understand it.
They can walk back there and get a drink once they're back there on your property.
If you were hosting a dinner and you brought them drinks, you don't have a back
We
door.
don't have a back door.
And we didn't license it that way because
Okay.
we had to license the building and the sidewalk and there is no back door.
There's no back door.
No.
There's no back door and I haven't done a survey. I mean,
Get Dana to pay for it.
yeah, the alley, I mean, maybe the building is right on the property line. I mean, this is an old town.
It probably is.
So it probably is. Again, I'm not requesting it. For the alcohol use for the Colorado girl will be most likely confined to maybe some mimosas on some mornings that we do special events and some community dinners at night. We're not gonna be a full bar or open late.
I think the reason I
function.
posed that question was for that reason, like, I don't necessarily think there need to be cordoned off between the businesses. If everyone along there has liquor licenses, that's not my concern. It was at either end of the block where it ends, that it shouldn't spill into the alley.
I mean, again, I will say this again, that falls on whether Matt's liquor license goes into jeopardy. So I would be very loath to put additional requirements on Matthew that we don't have on 610,
Yes.
on the Charbonneau, on the Colorado Boy, on Chloe's, like, that's Matt's liquor license that's at risk if he has folks standing in the alley with beer.
And according to the training that we went through at the SHRP this year, our staff is required to police that area. I mean, 610 is, SHRP is, Boy is, at Chloe, everybody's required to police their area.
Their own boundaries, yeah.
Maybe next month I'll bring up another idea that might make things a lot easier that we probably talked about, but for now, that little square in the front is all we would do.
And he's not required to put up any sort of signage or barricade.
I don't care about a sign, my point was the boundary there.
Yeah, it's his responsibility to police that.
And then my other concern with all of those is the 6-foot walkway through there,
Right.
which I don't think has been fully adhered to.
And we have discussed that at staff level, and we're gonna make sure this year that we're talking to the businesses as that tables start going out there, that area does have that kind of passage. Okay,
'Cause that was.
all the businesses they want, yeah.
Mhm.
And then everybody all on, yeah. Okay, thanks, Pam.
Okay, anything else?
I move to approve the revocable right-of-way permit for Colorado Girls' use of the sidewalk for alcohol service.
Seconded.
All right, motion by Beth, second by Polly. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
Item number 8, review and action on memorandum of understanding between the town of Ridgway and the Telluride Foundation to collaborate on down payment assistance program to support qualifying members of the regional workforce purchasing homes in the town of Ridgway. Question.
Well, thank you, Mayor. So, council earmarked $50,000 in the fiscal year 2026 budget to contribute to the Telluride Foundation Shared Equity Down Payment Assistance Program. And staff worked with the folks at the Telluride Foundation over the last few weeks to get this memorandum of understanding drafted and before you for consideration, and it governs the use and framework for this financial support in line with what was presented to you all during the budget process, specifically in October during the budget retreat when it was discussed a little more heavily. So happy to answer any questions about the MOU, but if this is in line with what council has already discussed.
Yeah, we've discussed this numerous times. Any questions from anybody up here? Anybody in the audience have any questions about it? Either online or in the room? Right.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the town of Ridgway and the Telluride Foundation.
Second.
All right, motion by Beth, seconded by Josie. In favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Takes us to item number 9, consideration of notice of award for visitor and business engagement. Tara's name's on this. Is she online?
Tara's not gonna make it this evening.
Okay.
So you're stuck.
Okay, go for it.
The town issued an RFP for visitor and business engagement on December 22nd, seeking a consultant to serve as what I would call the boots on the ground connector between the town, visitors, and local businesses, especially in light of the fact that we now have Destination by Design doing what I would characterize as the bulk of tourism promotion and marketing services on behalf of the town with lodging tax dollars. And the selected consultant will be expected to support local businesses and event organizers and take part in town marketing efforts to reach visitors effectively. We really had to ballpark an annual budget for this, given what we ballparked for and set as a not to exceed amount with Destination by Design and their professional services agreement. And so, I hate to use the word ballpark, but we ballparked an annual budget of approximately $25,000 for these services. Proposals were due the 23rd of January. We received one proposal from Mr. John Hill here with the Ridgway Area Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for being here, John. Tara and I reviewed the proposal against the valuation criteria listed in the RFP, very similar to the valuation criteria we use in a lot of other RFPs, but namely the one that we used that resulted in Destination by Design in that role. And we felt that the proposal met the requirements laid out in the RFP, and John, representing the chamber, expressed confidence in the organization's ability to execute that scope of work that we had laid out in the RFP, and based on the many years of working closely with the business community here in town and the community as a whole. And they briefly described their vision to create informational kiosks and QR codes and strategic locations throughout Ridgway, linking to visitor information at their new website. John can, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk more about that. It's worth noting that the chamber is currently in year 5, maybe 6, I'm forgetting, of a 20-year lease with the town for utilizing and operating the visitor center space. And the proposed budget that the chamber came in with their proposal was just shy of $34,000, and it was very clear how those dollars would be delineated based on the scope that was laid out in the RFP, including what we characterized as kind of optional visitor center activation. So I'm sure John will be happy to talk about that. So happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Preston. Anybody have any questions, either for Preston or for John?
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the budget meeting, I was concerned about 25,000 being potentially way too low. Just because I know it was hard to know like how to split up those tax dollars between the two RFPs, so. This makes sense to me that the visitor center activation would be like kind of more of a separate piece, but. I'm glad to see that the RICC was still interested in performing these tasks, they are local and know our businesses, so.
John, you might have the number in your head. Do you remember how many visitors we had last year at the visitor center?
So I would say, I don't have an exact number. It was when we were open Wednesday through Sunday, it was in the area of 250 to 300 people per month, which as we redesigned what we're doing, there was not a lot of strategic thinking around one, how to get people into the visitor center. Historically, it was the Railroad Museum, and they got almost the visitation that the Ouray Visitor Center gets. They get about 80 or 90 people a day. I wouldn't expect to get that much, but we do have some thinking around how to make it more relevant and get people to come in there with a little bit of proactive, call it marketing, a little bit of signage, some different offers for the community and for tourists as well.
I do wonder, and I'm not necessarily opposed to including it this year, if we would be better served taking the $10,000 that we're gonna spend, give or take, on that and investing in different signage that's open all the time. I know we've talked about wayfinding things and I'm not necessarily opposed to doing it this year, but that's so much volunteer time and money for ultimately reaching probably a pretty small percentage of our visitors. So just something to consider in the long term.
9,000 actively.
Yeah, and if I may, and working with town and with Tara and Destination by Design, if they have ideas, it has to be designed in a way, and thankfully I got to spend time in there and see the questions, hear the questions that were asked. The main thing is, we know what people ask about and we can deliver that information in a meaningful way. The budget is primarily for staff.
Totally, I understand.
And, but as far as the assets, that's not an expensive thing to do. In fact, I don't even know that I added a whole lot for that we'll have to do some design, we'll have to do some printing, QR codes, have it well presented at the visitor center. And then furthermore, in town, in businesses that agree to allow us to have, like if I went to Matthew and said, hey, is it cool if we put up a QR code that directs people to the destination site? That's my thinking right now. And then in terms of the kiosks, I can go as deep as you want on that, but we have some revenue generating ideas around that serve everyone.
Yeah, I love the idea of getting our businesses, whichever business you find yourself into, connecting you with that information. Matthew's already paying folks, he's already got the lights on, it's open, and it's gonna be a benefit to you to connect people and keep them in town a little bit longer, right? And so I'm just thinking about the overall cost effectiveness of that.
And are you trying to draw them to the visitor center or to an online site where they can get the information?
All of the above, as I see it. Ouray, and I speak frequently with Silverton and their efforts. Deanne down there does a lot of really creative things. So she and I have been meeting every couple weeks. I envision it similar to what Ouray did. They had a budget, clearly, if you go to their visitor center website, and it's got wonderful videos of local trails. It's like a virtual visitor center. So in my mind, I'm thinking, how do we create a virtual visitor center without spending $60,000 or $70,000 on all these digital assets and the website development that goes with that? So I envision it being a hybrid, but the most important thing is when people want the information, it has to be available to them. If that's a phone call, if that's a website, if that's in person, a lot of people come up at 7 a.m. before it even opens. A lot of people come in at the end of the day. So I envision a professional kiosk. Currently, we have a like an old newspaper machine that they can open, and we have flyers, visitor guide, and relevant information, and people grab it. I mean, we had to we restock that every week. So I envision it, given the constraints of our budget. Most of it goes to labor, and it's a mixture between volunteers and labor, because there are a lot of people in this community that love to volunteer at the visitor center. And it's quite fascinating to speak with them, actually. But yeah, I envision a hybrid, and also in the proposal, I mentioned working with the town and just being clear and planning together. I mean, I think Tara and I and Preston, to a certain extent, we've had a lot of really productive conversations on what that looks like. And then just a final comment, the way I envision this, because the chamber is not responsible now for destination marketing. A lot of our activities by supporting local businesses are going to be destination efforts unintentionally, I mean, intentionally, but that's not our primary focus. When I can put, like on the website, one thing I'm focusing on is what deals do local businesses have going on? And I want this to become a resource, the chamber, for our businesses and for our community members, so that they know any day of the week, they can go to this website and know that there's, you know, a Super Bowl party at the depot, or they know that whatever's going on. So I like this teamwork between the Destination by Design and the chamber and community members. I envision a nice, neat package that all of our boxes are checked. Chamber taking care of some of them, Destination by Design taking care of some of them, and working closely with town and seeing what we can do.
And maybe some of what the Destination by Design is doing could link into that website or the QR code. I'm not sure about that, but if you're all working together, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the conversations we've had, there's going to be a lot of overlap. So I look forward to a conversation about efficiency and what we're doing, because frankly, the chamber's focusing on our members. It's growing. We're almost 60 members right now. So we're up almost 12% year over year right now. And that's with little effort. So there is some excitement around what we're doing. But a lot of it, for example, we're going to be putting new stickers on our businesses' doors. So easy to also combine that with however Destination by Design wants to link it up with the businesses. We're already going to be doing that. So it'll be easy for us to just, you know, link to visit ridgwayco.com, get people to visit that website and just communicate. Like I get to communicate with some of the staff in town like several times a week. So, you know, we want to be a partner and be helpful.
I know that in the past, it has been an issue that the chamber website documents presented by chamber have not been updated. Can you speak to how often those things will be updated, will be changed, will be turned?
Sure.
What's the overturn?
So the current destination site is the former chamber site. So at the end of December, we stripped as much as we could out of the destination site, and we have a new chamber website focused on news and local deals and things that are relevant to the community. What I learned, so I served on the board for the chamber since last December, January, before taking over this role. And what I learned is the website and I can build websites. The website from a technological standpoint was, I'll just call it a mess behind the scenes. A lot of functionality that was not used, or maybe it was, and then it was pulled back. The chamber wasn't able to update anything other than maintaining that calendar. To your point, like when I sat down in my chair on August 1st, when it was my job, and I'm above average tech savvy, I couldn't find the areas in the back end of that site to update. I could find some of them, and I did, but it just wasn't a user-friendly back end, so to speak. So you're absolutely right. I mean, there were still board members listed, that hadn't been there 3 years.
Businesses.
And businesses, and there still are.
Yeah.
Frankly, and Preston knows this, I'm a resource for making connections for Tara or Preston or anybody I've connected them with. It's hard to find Joomla developers in the country. It's sort of an antiquated thing, very powerful, but
Joomla is the website designer.
yeah, it's the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the platform. But yeah, it's just, making sure that destination site, visit ridgwayco.com, is up and running. Like we still, as far as the events go, that's the main thing. That's the main source of traffic. And it's still up and running this thing. And in fact, when you go to the chamber site, the current chamber site, when you click on the events tab, I just link it to the current visit ridgwayco.com. And when Localist is complete, we'll either embed that in our website or we'll continue to link straight to it, just depending on what looks best and is most useful. And the chamber site, we're posting half a dozen featured events primarily from business members. And again, one thing I noticed when I first kind of got involved in this, there's a lot of duplicity, a lot of efforts going to the same task. And the more I've learned, I'm in a better position to be like, hey, why doesn't Fuse do this? Why don't the chamber, why don't we do that? And I'm still learning, but how do we make like a nice team of all these different organizations in town to serve the community?
And, are you going to have tangible paper materials of any kind rather than just a QR code?
At the visitor center?
Or, like, I know we used to have the visitor guide.
Yes.
And that was,
So that
also
destination.
not updated as frequently as it maybe should have been.
Yes.
So I'm kind of wondering, like, what the process,
So if
That
I
doesn't
can
hurt.
kind of jump in, that's really not part of,
or is that?
that's not gonna be,
That's the other.
destination marketing, so that's where a lot of this can get complicated pretty quick on who's doing what, but I do wanna give John some huge kudos over the last few months for being such a great partner. And he was just talking about how he's made himself available as a resource for this transition, and it's so appreciated by Tara, myself, all of us. It's been wonderful. But I was talking about how complicated all this is. That visit ridgwayco.com is now the destination site. That used to be the chamber site, and that's what John's explaining. And I'm not trying to be redundant, but now we have this site that John has been kind enough to take all the chamber stuff off of, give it to us to try to plug and play. And Joomla is not the most friendly platform, but we're gonna give it a run, right? But John's made some great headway on the new chamber specific site as a chamber of commerce function, nonprofit function. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah.
And we'll clearly lay out what that scope is. I mean, we can talk about it very generally here on the, issuing a notice of award, but the professional services agreement, when it's ready to go, will be clear on what exactly John and others with the Ridgway chair, with the Chamber of Commerce are going to be doing with lodging tax dollars to meet the scope of work and promote businesses, visitors, and QR codes and physical pieces of paper and visitor center. There's just a lot. It's a lot. So I recognize that.
Awesome. And I'm sorry if any of that sounded confrontational. I just was
Oh,
trying
not at
to
all.
get to the bottom to make sure that we had some answers and because.
It's not an intuitive situation.
Yeah.
So, and you're welcome to email me or call me anytime, because it took me several months to figure out where's the delineation between who's doing what. And that's gotten a lot tighter, I think. And, but yeah, it's not an intuitive thing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Great. Any other questions for John?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks, Tom.
Any questions in the audience, either online or in the room? Okay.
I'll move to authorize staff to enter into a professional services agreement with Ridgway Area Chamber of Commerce for visitor and business engagement services for the town of Ridgway in the amount of $33,824.
A second.
Motion by Terry, second by Beth, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously, thank you. That takes us
Great deals,
to.
John.
Sure. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Takes us to item number 10, review and action on first amendments of developer agreement between Alpine Homes Ridgway LLC and the town of Ridgway. Angie.
Thank you, Mayor. Should I grab a clicker?
Maybe.
Oops. Oh, okay, we're working. All right. So a negotiated development agreement for the Riverfront Village development was recorded on November 16th, 2022. The project area, you probably are all familiar with this. It's just off of Highway 550, it's Riverfront Village. The entire project has received certificates of occupancy, and some of the condos have actually been sold. So with all the units becoming available around the same time, it's expected to take a while before all of the units are absorbed by the market and sold off. The original development agreement contains provisions around 4 deed restricted housing units developed as part of the project. 2 of the units are in the CM building, which is shown here on the top left. And then 2 are in the M3 building on the bottom right here. In the language in the development agreement, there's a set area median income target, and there's also a set developer profit allowance. So when costs were reviewed after everything has been built, to determine that initial sale price for each of the 4 units, which has been completed by staff. It was found that the costs exceed what could be considered affordable to that target income range. So the first amendment to the development agreement that's in your packet includes modifications to account for the reality of the costs of development. Additionally, there were no allowances for rental of the deed restricted units, even by the owner or the developer, while the other units are being absorbed by the market. So the development team has proposed that in order to get the units doing what they're supposed to do in housing community members, that they would be allowed to rent to serve local workforce at 100% or less of the area median income, which is a steeper income target, steeper affordability target. While being rented, the units must also remain on the market for sale. And then once sold, there's a 30-day period to notify renters. So this page here explains the request. It shows where the target levels need to be set to be considered affordable at the initial sales price. And for context, I also included a 2025 area median income chart on this page and in your packet. So staff is supportive of the drafted first amendment to the development agreement based on the market realities and the willingness of the developer to supply units as rental at a steeper affordability target while marketing the units for sale. And then a note was added here that it was agreed between parties that a new deed restriction will need to be recorded with the sale of each of the restricted units, and that's really just an administrative cleanup thing. So if you wish to modify the draft amendment or the draft first amendment, we would just want to make sure that that's still required. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have one.
Sure.
Based on this, the difficulty of moving during various seasons, is a 30-day notification for renters sufficient? Should it be 60?
I thought it was 90.
She just said 30.
Is it 90?
No, I think. If it was rented we would be renting to these folks on a month-to-month basis, so I believe 30 days is legal, because we wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of what it has to.
Yeah, because you're not gonna get folks who purchase the place, especially if they're buying affordable housing that necessarily want that, that potentially could be negotiated or rent back. But my actual question sort of piggybacks on that. The rental option would not continue, right? That is a thing we're offering to the developer, not go forward with the property.
Correct.
It says.
And this is,
determined
yeah,
by
90 days, thank
Yeah.
you. And in my, sorry, in my packet is 90.
Yeah,
Well, then I have a concern about that. Are folks going to be wanting, if you're purchasing a home, are you going to be willing to wait 90 days to take possession?
would the 90 days be probably not till they close on the property, right? It wouldn't be from when they signed a contract, it would be from they closed on the property.
Yeah,
So in that case, it might be a long time.
I would actually anticipate that it would be upon notice, right, from the seller. And while this is in here, this is really going to be the developer's obligation. I mean, certainly the town wants to be mindful of that. But that's more so gonna be, we're not the landlord, we're not the tenant here, so we're trying to kind of lay out the groundwork, but I don't foresee us kind of going through with, those daily reviews or anything like that.
And then one more question, these deed restrictions now will be administered by the Home Trust as our housing services administrator, correct?
Correct.
So does that? Maybe this is not totally associated with this, but because they're not realtors, what is their ability to like let folks know that there are deed restricted units available? Like as a home trust, because I think that came up when we had our workforce meeting in December. I didn't know that there was a deed restricted unit for sale. I came aware of these because I actually know somebody who was looking at them, who was interested in deed restricted unit. But I do want to make sure that our community, that might help them move it faster if people know that there's deed restricted units
There
available.
needs to be a mechanism for,
Well, that's part of, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
No, that's what I want to know, Preston, tell
that's
us.
part of, Eva, that's part of the home trust scope of work. And
Okay.
Eva is the housing services director to have that inventory and
Okay.
clearinghouse for those opportunities that you're talking about, deed restricted units, rentals and such, and. Eva, I don't remember if Eva mentioned it last meeting or not, but that's part of the scope of work.
Okay.
Right, and so, trying to figure out how that's gonna jive with what we do and how we administer that, but.
Like realtors, and I think as I get community questions, I'm trying to understand who to send people to when deed restricted units are around.
And that was maybe not a major, but like a really big impetus for going this regional path, this regional approach and going this route. But do you want to add anything to that?
I was just gonna say, we actually, Eva reached out recently to see like when this process would be done, amending the development agreement. Because she has people reaching out to her now, looking for deed restricted units, so.
Well,
To answer Beth's question, sorry, if I'm
go ahead,
interrupting,
no,
there should eventually be like a website, a
Yes.
webpage or something.
Right.
Well publicized that people can go to see what's available. And it from Space Create all the way through all the various options.
I've been calling it the one-stop shop for a long time, so.
Yeah.
I'll be that way.
I'm sure
yeah,
it's-
it's in the word, it's just,
Wondering what 170% what the price would be.
it's,
in
they're
the
in the
packet.
packet.
It doesn't go that.
It doesn't
No,
go
it-
that high,
it's-
that's true.
And it's also a rental schedule, not a sales set schedule.
You
Um,
can do that.
yeah, I don't have that number right now.
I
But
noticed there's a small
I-
typo in here.
Okay.
Point out.
Sure.
In the middle of page 3, where it actually lists the sales price not to exceed. The third unit, 158 Alpine Loop, unit 101, everywhere else it's unit 102. That's the only place it calls
Okay.
it 101. And elsewhere above, it calls
In
it,
the actual development agreement,
yep.
got it, okay, we'll fix that.
So it's item A under paragraph 3.7. And then a little further up, it's bullet number 1 at the top of page 2. Those both refer to unit 102 at 158 Alpine Loop. But then where the price section is called 101.
Got it,
minor things, but
So
Three word.
the price point for that 170 unit, which is 158 Alpine Loop number 101.
it's supposed to be two.
102 is 469,000.
And just for reference, that's $124,000 for $124,440 for one person, or $142,120 for four.
For their
Or
income.
two, sorry, for two people, for income limits.
You did.
Could you say that again?
Yeah, so which one would you like? The one person or two person?
Both.
Both,
What you
the
just said.
one person income amount at 170% of AMI would be $124,440. For two people, it'd be $142,120. Okay. So if it ever need anything above it, just take the 100% and multiply it by the decimal.
And then I just want to point something out, Angie might have said this in your presentation, but the developer was willing to forego any sort of profit in making these changes. I think that's worth noting. Again, Angie might have said that, but Jake Cantor, the developer, is here. If you all would like to.
Yeah, I thought I'd give Jake a chance to say something if he wanted. But I just want to throw out that, you know, there was a point in the process of this
I was
development
just gonna apologize to Jake.
when we were thinking that these units might be 750 to 900,000. Those numbers were actually being bantered about at one. So I'm really happy to see these numbers where they are. So Jake, anything you need to add?
Can I ask
Good, Polly had a question.
Sorry, hold on a
Sorry,
second.
Jake, I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. Let me know when you're.
Thank you. I was just curious about, both of the one bedrooms are 170 and 190 of AMI. And both of the two bedrooms are 140 AMI, and I'm wondering what the logic was on that.
They're not actually comparable units.
Okay.
So the two bedrooms in the CM building are very similar in how they're set up, same floor plan, same windows, all of that. The one that's set at 190 is a much larger, has like vaulted ceilings unit with really nice views and all of that stuff. So
Nicer unit.
it costs more to develop as well.
Cool, I was just curious. Thank you so much.
Okay, go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Angie, for doing the presentation. Much appreciated. And thank you all for considering this tonight. Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, our big push here was to, you know, kind of raise our AMI limits for our top cap of what we can sell these units for, as construction prices had significantly gone up since we initially bid this project out back in 2021, and then we got our original development agreement done 2022. Our construction didn't even begin until 2023, and at that point, as you all probably know, construction prices have gone up drastically in the last 4 or 5 years, and our costs had gone up, and we basically just wanted to put in our deed restricted prices in line with our construction costs. And like Angie said, we had a good meeting the other day discussing this. We are willing to forego any profit on these deed restricted units. I want to make it clear that increasing the AMI is not, a ploy to try to make more profit off of these units. We have plenty of other units we can make profit on. These units, we kind of want to just, get them off our hands and get them into the desired use of housing local workforce. And that kind of brings it to the next point of wanting to be able to rent these deed restricted units prior to an initial sale. We've found it really challenging so far to be able to market and sell these units. We have been marketing and attempting to sell them for almost 6 months now. We haven't had a single offer on any of the 4 units. So it's great to hear too, you guys are working to, get a system or a database built up of available deed restricted units. I think that'll definitely help us. But our goal, is to get people living there. And if, someone that qualifies is willing to rent, but they, might not have the funds available at that time to purchase the unit outright, then, they could still have a place to live through renting. at a, a deed restricted cost, 100% AMI. And then my final comment is we currently have all four of our deed restricted units listed for less than $400,000. Our most expensive one is $399,000 currently. So we currently aren't even listing them at that AMI price that is quoted there in the development agreement. So it may end up being a moot point anyways. But like I said, our goal is to get these sold or at least rented. So thank you for your time. And, if anyone is looking for deed restricted housing, I hope you can reach out and come our way.
Thanks, Jake. Really appreciate your efforts on this. It's a big deal.
I have a question. Jake, not material to this discussion, but what if asked by other folks, what is the range prices for the other units?
So our other units, yeah, our non-deed restricted units vary. As you probably know, all of our units are slightly different, with our, kind of lowest tier being significantly different from our highest tier. Our highest tier units were currently listing for 1.1 million, where our cheapest units are going just around $500,000. So I think our average price is about 670,000.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Jake, you ended up actually, meeting kind of this missing middle. We've gotten a lot of folks in that. These AMIs, and I apologize, I got real spicy with you back in the development process, and I was like 125% of AMI. What are we doing with affordable housing there? And now, given our housing needs assessment, it's clear we really do have needs for this. So thank you for sticking with it. Sorry I got kind of spicy with you.
Oh, no problem. I know it's a contentious topic, so no personal damage taken.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, and just to piggyback on that, I as I was saying before, I think early on in the process, it appeared for whatever reason that these units were all going to be close to $1 million. So I'm personally thrilled to hear that like your average unit, even for the non-deed restricted units, 615, we've got units going for 500. That is huge for the town of Ridgway. So appreciate you hanging in. It was a long haul, I know, to get here. I saw you down on the property today. I was visiting a client who just bought a unit there a couple months ago. I was really impressed. So good on you. Nice job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Our sales have been interesting so far. Our higher end units have been selling a lot faster than our lower end units. So, I'm hopeful once we sell out of our higher end stuff, we'll only have lower tier stuff left, and people will come. So,
yeah, the people I was visiting said that you've sold more than half. Is that right?
We've sold about 40% so far.
Okay.
So we're approaching half.
That's good. Now you just need to find somebody to rent those commercial units, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different beast.
Yeah, and it's just a tough time for that. All
right.
So anyway, thanks again. Anybody have any questions for
Appreciate
Angie? Either here in the room or online? Yeah, come on up. Hi, Nate.
Nathan Locke, Ridgway, Colorado. So how many units are in this development total?
38.
38. And you have four that are designated for affordable housing.
Correct, 10%.
So roughly 10% there. So that's 10%. So what was the projected budget, and how much did they go over budget on this there?
I couldn't tell you.
Mr. Cantor, are you able to
I'm not sure if you can answer that, but
answer
Jake,
that?
did you hear the question?
Yes, I heard the question. I prefer not to disclose our business dealing financials in public hearing here. But I can say, that from our initial cost projections that we did back in 2021, we likely spent about 40% more than what we initially anticipated, as well as our original plans. We had a lot cheaper finishes than we had in our final product. We also had a lot of added infrastructure costs that was unforeseen during our original bidding. We had major groundwater issues that took a lot of time and money to correct. So we had some unforeseen costs as well in there.
Okay, so you have 40% over budget. You have basically 90% of the structure that you can dispense that 40% overhead onto. And then like the logistics of that, as far as, okay, you have 4 units that are affordable housing that are $400,000. And then the minimum income was 100 and
For the 170% units, it was 124,000 for one person.
okay. For average folk and working folk in this community, who knows anybody that makes that amount?
I actually know several people who are in this position and I hear you. And we have this conversation
Yeah.
repeatedly.
Yeah.
And so what I will say is those folks, when we had the Wetterhorn homes go up for sale, they were left out of that because those were 80 to 120% of AMI.
Right.
So that was more of what you're getting at. They got left out of that conversation, but they also can't afford market rate homes.
I run a plumbing company here. Last year is my 5th year in business. I've hit 900,000 in sales. I barely make that amount,
Mhm.
and so.
Well, that's 170, so then there's the
There's no
140.
way. I mean, to me, that's affordable housing, that's being a business owner.
So we get it, Nate.
I mean, as that being deeded as low income housing.
It's not really.
It's not low income. And what it is it's a piece of the puzzle. Like what I've been saying for years now is that there are a lot of different pieces to the affordable housing.
So you have 10% dedicated to that. You have 90% that he can distribute the extra cost to.
And yet he's still selling some of those units for 500,000, which is in today's market.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not affordable for the vast majority of the people here, but it's way cheaper than.
I'd like to see the data as far as what he's selling every unit for. Let's divide it up into the 38 units and see if it's actually at 600,000 as an average.
Well,
I think the average.
it's a private business.
I would also invite you to take a look at our housing needs assessment. Because again, what I will keep saying is we keep hitting different segments. Space to create is what's the bottom,
I think
30
there's
to
there's
8,
60 or 80.
30 to 80, and then Wetterhorn has been 80 to 120. That's with the Riverfront project in Ridgway is at the 80 to 120. And so with this unit, this being 4 units, actually at 140 to 190. We can't ever actually touch those EMIs with public dollars. So that's actually like an interesting middle, and that's why I was sort of apologizing. And I hear you every single time we have a meeting about housing.
Yeah.
We have this exact conversation.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
we're not the only ones facing this. It's happening all over the country,
Indeed.
especially the West. So.
And we're
Point well taken. We keep trying to do everything we can to cover the gamut of needs for sure.
And when developing, that's always a gamble.
Yep.
It's always a gamble.
Yep.
Of course, there's unforeseen unseen issues there,
Right.
but that's why you want to have a good developer under
Yeah.
your team there.
And
All right, this was not low.
Thanks, Nate.
truly, we are doing everything we can to make sure we're hitting all of those brackets. Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Hand up.
Uh,
Forster.
Pam, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Jake, for all the work. I remember all the public hearings and everything and glad things are going well. I'm just curious, in a general sense, do you know how many of the buyers are permanent or, year-round residents and how many are using them as vacation properties?
Kind of. I don't keep up with everybody that buys, but I know we have had I would say probably half of our current buyers are full-time residents or have moved here to become full-time residents from other areas. Whereas the other half are, second home part-time owners.
Okay, thanks. I was just curious.
Yeah, I think it's so far it feels pretty evenly split.
Thank you.
Anyone else, questions? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the First Amendment to the development agreement by and between Alpine Homes Ridgway LLC and the town of Ridgway.
Second.
All right, motion by Beth, seconded by Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next one up is you again, Angie. It is item number 11, review and action on the submittal of an application to Colorado Department of Local Affairs Accessory Dwelling Unit Grant Program and authorization for me to sign a letter of support and matching fund commitment.
Yes, thank you. So this came to you last month in the staff report or the town manager's report. That we were certified as an ADU accessory dwelling unit supportive jurisdiction by the Department of Local Affairs, DOLA. I'm going to be using ADU and DOLA quite a bit, so. So House Bill 24-1152 intends to increase the supply of accessory dwelling units as an affordable housing option. It sets standards for jurisdictions to achieve ADU supportive status and become eligible for funding through a new grant program called the ADU grant. Ridgway was certified as an ADU supportive jurisdiction by complying with the bill and adopting some supportive strategies. So some of the requirements were that we have to allow one ADU as an accessory use to a single unit detached dwelling in any area, lot, or parcel where a single unit detached dwelling would be allowed. So we already have that in place. It's been in place for a while, and our regulations really go beyond that. Also, applications for ADUs have to be reviewed through an administrative approval process. So we just do building permit process. It's handled at the staff level. And then the land use code or the architectural design standards, whatever we have in place, can't be more restrictive than the standards on a single family home. And that includes dimensional standards and parking. So ours are the same no matter what kind of unit you're building. So we meet all of those requirements. Here is DOLA's process for eligibility. So our compliance report letter and our ADU jurisdiction certification letter were included in your packet, deeming us eligible for funding. The funding can be used in a variety of ways, but we've identified permit-ready ADUs as the primary focus of this funding. And I just have a few examples from other communities here on the screen. So Summit County has a stock plan set with a bunch of different sizes and layouts for their units. West Denver also has an array of options that you can choose from that are permit ready. And our neighbors, the city of Montrose, also have a pre-approved ADU program. This is pretty new, so I haven't heard how it's doing yet, but I'm in touch with their community development director. So you kind of keep tabs. And these are all customizable, so theirs are pretty, just kind of plain and standard, but we can kind of ask for whatever we're interested in. And they can also fit with the different neighborhoods and the different styles that exist in like historic residential compared to, the more modern neighborhoods.
The advantage of these pre-designed units is just to expedite the permitting process.
There's quite a few benefits. So it saves homeowners like several months of planning and trying to figure out exactly what they want, and lots of money compared to the custom design process. It also lowers the barriers of entry for many by providing plans that are ready. And then they can customize on top of that. It accelerates the permitting process, like you said. And it could lower permit fees if we decide to make that like an incentive. We do have some incentives for ADUs already, so.
Another question that may not be relevant to this per se, but can HOAs within the town's boundaries require more restrictive requirements on their ADUs based on lot sizes, things of that nature than the town, or is the town preempt that?
They can, and I think you're probably talking about a specific neighborhood in the town of Ridgway, and they actually have their standards set by their PUD. And they're via a plat note. It's not like just in their CCNRs. So it's a little more complicated to like unpack that and amend it. To be more consistent with town code. So right now, it's very likely to be more restrictive than town codes. They just can't be less
So
restrictive.
to untangle that,
Mhm.
generic through the HOA or specific to a particular person? How would somebody attempt to appeal for less restrictions in that HOA, but it's on the flat notes and so forth?
If it's on the plat notes and so forth, then it's a PUD amendment and a plat amendment.
Okay,
So it's an actual land use process that would affect the whole neighborhood.
I see. So it's not just
Yes,
an individual.
exactly.
It's a bigger process.
Yeah, so if it was in their CCNRs, it'd be very easy to just modify those with a vote of the HOA or whatever, however their process works. But yeah, when it's like a platted document that created the neighborhood, it's a little more complicated. So we're working to kind of wrap our heads around where those exist in town and how to make it as easy as possible. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm interested in that process.
Hopefully that answers your question for now. We can talk about it again sometime. All right. So yeah, I think I went over the benefits. I guess the other one to add is that the pre-approved plans, and I kind of mentioned this, can be very specific to like what the town of Ridgway likes and our different historic materials and things like that we use here. So the things just blend right in. Okay.
But back to that last question.
Okay.
Did any of the grant funding be used to facilitate that PUD change, or is that not an eligible expense for the grant?
I haven't looked into whether it's perfectly eligible or not. But the way that we have this planned or like what's been allocated for the budget, talks specifically to the pre-approved ADU program. And that would benefit the entire town instead of just like one neighborhood.
Thinking about, I think what Terry is kind of getting at is how can we maybe streamline a process where our HOAs could become slightly more modern and progressive with their ADU requirements. And so something like kind of the step past this is maybe inviting some representatives from those people to, when we start actually talking about commissioning plans or deciding on plans, things that might vibe with then an invite, and something we could consider is how could we create kind of a streamlined process for those guys?
Yeah.
Lower cost on doing a PUD revision. Small time, it maybe, I hate to put it on a planning commission, but push it through. I think that's kind of where you were going, Terry. But I think that's down the line on this. But in the meantime, like, yeah, let's get the letter going.
I'm hearing political support for a streamlined process for PUD amendments. So
Yes, for this,
me.
yeah.
Great. And that is something we as the staff level are working on, so.
Great.
Oh, yeah, so the recommended motion is here, on the screen for you
Anybody have any
to
questions
consider.
in the audience or on Zoom? Yeah, come on up, Hank.
So I live in an HOA and my understanding is that if you have under 3 acres, you're allowed ADU build is maximum of 500 square feet. If you have more than 3 acres, it goes up to 800 square feet. I don't know if that's the town's.
No, the town's, you're in the county, you're in Mr. Terrace, right?
I don't know if
So,
that's the same as the county.
Ours is more liberal than that.
Ours said it goes up to 1,000 now.
Okay,
And you need 6,000 square feet, not 3 acres.
okay.
Yeah, ours actually allowed more.
So I think that's just something with our HOA then.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about, trying to streamline, I mean, we have no effect on the county, but if we could try to streamline at least the.
And honestly,
the town.
I missed all of that HOA conversation, but one of the phases of Solar Ranch didn't even allow it used at all until recently. I think they had a vote of the HOA to change that. So, there might even be other HOAs in town that don't allow ADUs at all. So that's something we need to look at. But as far as the old part of town, it's like the old lots and blocks. You basically, all you need is one lot, you can build a house and an ADU and it can be that.
And to create, say low income housing there that way.
Exactly.
We were one of the first communities to allow ADUs at all.
Okay.
And I think the county increased their square footage before we did. I wanna say they're at 1,200.
Okay.
So it's possible that your HOA might be willing to change that if you got enough people to support it.
Yeah, cause I'm for upping the square footage, but keeping say the bathrooms and plumbing fixtures down to a limited. That way it doesn't overwhelm our water situation and our sewer situation. But as far as livable square footage, I think it would be nice to have a bigger space to live in, but limit the plumbing fixtures as far as water usage. And
Well, I think one of the arguments would be, if you're building something 500 square foot, it probably doesn't cost a whole lot to make it a little bigger and actually have a living space, so maybe you can.
a lot of our argument up there is like, we don't have a limit as far as how big of a home we can build on our lot. And then how many fixtures we can use, which will then, kind of put a strain on the water system, the infrastructure, the utility, the civil infrastructure there. So that's my 2 cents.
That's super helpful. I'll move to authorize the submittal of an application for the DOLA ADU grant program, which is described in the staff report. And further to authorize Mayor Park to sign the letter of support and matching funds.
Second.
All right, motion by Sims, Josie, second by Michelle, all in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimously, thank you. This next one's a big one.
Thanks, Angie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Angie, great work. This next one is item number 12, discussion of wastewater treatment plant planning and direction on an adjustment to the town's sewer service rates. I believe Joanne Fagan is online to talk about this. I don't know if Preston, we've moved on to the wastewater plant discussion, just started.
Yeah, Joanne. There's a water leak, so I gotta go, but,
Oh, sorry.
Joanne, are you online?
Yes,
Take it away,
okay. After many years, the town finally received a new discharge permit about a year ago. And I think we talked about it during the retreat. There are a number of new limits and requirements for some special studies. The town asked some questions about why all of the new limits, and we're working on gathering information to request modifications of some of the limits. However, there are some requirements that we know we're not going to get out of, and meeting those requirements will require some significant modifications to the existing facilities. We're still sort of assessing how to address some of those, but we expect that the cost will be several $1,000,000. It's just doing wastewater plant renovations is incredibly expensive right now. in preparing some of the documents for the um, preliminary needs assessment, we had to tell them how long it had been since we had increased the sewer rates. And it's been over a decade. However, it's as recently as 2024, which is the last year we have all the numbers for the sewer fees, the monthly fees were covering all of the expenses in the sewer fund. So far, we have not been delinquent. The town is likely to need to borrow some money to be able to make the renovations to meet it, even the limits that we know we need to meet. And staff is working on looking at a number of funding sources. We're concerned that the funding agencies are likely going to scrutinize our rates and our rate structure, and as sort of a preemptive move, staff is recommending that the town council consider a rate increase, and we are requesting some direction on how staff should proceed. And I'd be glad to answer any questions. I skipped a whole bunch in the staff report.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, but I imagine people have some questions.
So the rate increase would only be necessary once we go down the path of obtaining loans, or are we doing this preemptively?
I think it will be a question when we ask for grants, because our current sewer rates are considerably below the state average. And we're going to need to justify why we need grants.
If we're not charging enough money.
What is the projected timeline then if we were to look at a rate increase? It would be in 2026, or does this require further study or applications?
I think we would be probably looking later this year. Staff is also working on some other revisions to Municipal Code 9.1, which is the water and sewer ordinances. And if we can get it sort of to a place to present, I think we'd like to be able to incorporate a rate increase with that. I don't anticipate that we would increase rates to cover the whole cost, but I think we would like to at least begin the process.
So the staff memo says $8.70 a month for.
If you need to borrow $1 million.
And then is it possible to raise, would it be considered to raise sewer and tap fees, sewer fees when someone builds a new home? Would that be part of the money?
I think that's something we could examine. It's been a number of years since we adjusted the tap fees, and in my comments back to staff, I suggested that we might want to look at tap fees again.
And so like
2017 or 2018? It was before I built.
Yeah, it was before I built too. In the discussion between raising monthly costs versus raising cost to build is also like, it's a careful balance between how much do we want to raise first.
Well, it's probably both.
Yeah, but the problem is that when we think of it will probably need to be both, but it will be a deeper discussion because a lot of folks roll their tap fees into their loan, and if they can't qualify, then it doesn't get them there. It's kind of the argument for the on-bill repayment of solar panels instead of putting them on the mortgage. So that'll be a larger discussion.
Most people who live in work in Ridgway can't afford to build here anyway.
But the flip side is that still do have some, like, you know, there's still some.
And hopefully can continue.
Sorry, I just got back. Joanne, thanks for giving the presentation and I didn't hear anything that you said. I apologize. And Joanne may have emphasized this, but as a non-disadvantaged community, most likely having that characterization as we have before. Any sort of loan funding and grant funding, those funders are gonna be looking at our user fees, right? And so that's really this, these are my words, that's really the starting.
That are, they're low compared to the rest of the state, so that would be the question, if we're looking for grants, why aren't we charging more?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to be redundant, but I think that's a fundamental piece.
So how soon in 2026 would you want us to potentially increase them?
Well, I think this is the infancy portion of the conversation and we're looking for some direction from you all on how to proceed and potentially looking at, you know, direction to staff to further evaluate and do a rate, you know, maybe try to conduct a rate study, of a third party come in and do a rate study. I'm not sure if Joanne said that, apologize for being redundant.
She did.
And you know, come back later in the year with some more numbers, options and recommendation from staff on how to proceed, especially in conjunction with the preliminary needs assessment that Joanne's been working hard on. And that will inform a lot of the conversation.
Joanne, I have a technical question, especially around the metal sampling. And I know that most of the water that goes into our wastewater treatment is drinking water, so it has to meet stringent standards. But do we have any concerns about meeting metals numbers just as a result of geologic conditions in our area?
A little bit. We also have a little bit of concern about how much copper. I'm hoping most of the metals requirements, I think, are requirements based on the state saying we don't have adequate dilution to the reservoir. And we're working real hard to show them, to prepare information. The staff is working, town staff is collecting a bunch of data to kind of refute their assumption that there is no dilution.
Okay.
And if we can do that, I think some of the metals will go away.
Sorry, that's like my analytical chemistry background. I was like, oh my God, in this area.
Yeah, now if we had a lot of infiltration, that would be a problem.
Okay.
Years ago, somebody, when we were talking about the reservoir, they said that they wanted Ridgway. They weren't going to impose much on Ridgway because the reservoir needed the nutrients and it needed something to deal with all the metals that come down the Uncompahgre. But they have apparently changed their mind over the decades.
Interesting. Gary, go ahead.
The dollar amount that was listed in the memo is based upon the loan scenario, but in the other scenario of possibly raising rates to be preemptive with the grant situation, could we look at maybe a phased approach where prior to dealing with the loan, we kind of ease our way into this with the public with smaller incremental rates? Rate increases?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's a lot of ways you can skin it, but yeah, right now we're just, you know, trying to provide some fundamental information to inform future conversations. There's a lot more to look at, but yeah, that's certainly y'all's prerogative to approach it that way.
It seems like there's good justification.
You are considerably below the median.
Right, so if we could increase it sooner than later, then we ultimately lessen in interest, which seems like a better use.
Well, we could attract more grants in that to all of us.
Right.
If we see it coming, we might as well get ahead of it.
Well, we have seen it coming. I probably said this, but we've been very thoughtfully setting aside, town council that is, a good chunk of money each budget cycle for the last several years, just in anticipation of these renovations, so.
Right,
One of the things that I think we need to consider is what sort of, do we need to have a public outreach night where Joanne gives a short presentation and explains this? This is one of those like technical pieces that's gonna affect, it's gonna affect tap fees, it is going to affect people's monthly budget. And so being clear that there will be rate increases coming. And it's not punitive, it's paying for the maintenance of our sewer system. I think just us being available, right, Joanne giving short,
public
quick,
outreach. Yeah.
but even, not even like a formal like talk at us, but like a where I can sit and shake your hand and hear your concern type of situation, I think would be really amazing.
Yeah, because I like areas water, is such a contentious thing. It'd be nice to avoid that with more education.
Well, we just had the increase on the trash fees, but
It was
I
like
surprised, it wasn't very
85
much.
cents.
Yeah, it was like,
Way more.
I was panicking that
yeah, I thought
I
I
actually
missed
had to do
something, like, wait, did it go up that much?
And SOPA had experience with this. They knew they had a rate increase come down the pike and they noticed it a year ahead of time and got people used to the idea, so.
Well, they did, I was at that S&P annual meeting and they did a really good job walking through and explaining and
Why
being
it's necessary.
present and making themselves available for those concerns. And that's what I want to make sure we emulate.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the paper will cover that, so that's something people can refer back to too.
Yeah, the paper's a really good source. I think one of the things, again, when it's money and budget and it's emotional, people are frustrated, and for us to be like, be there to look them in the eye and say that is hugely important.
I think that's great.
Joanne, I have a question that, I know we've talked about a lot in the last few years, at least you and I. With all these changes coming down from CDPHE, they've kind of been setting it up to where, to me, it appears that there's gonna be this 2027 come to Jesus moment where all of a sudden a bunch of towns the size of Ridgway and slightly smaller, slightly bigger, are gonna all of a sudden be faced with this need. How is there gonna be enough money anywhere to address all these communities' needs at the same time? And is anybody at CDPHE talking about that?
They did talk about it when they were doing the medium and large size plants and trying the original deal started with the large plants and then they moved to the medium. And they've had this off ramp for disadvantaged communities up to 2 million and to small communities up to 1 million gallons a day. We're permitted for 0.2 million a day. I mean, we're much smaller than where that's at. What I've read so far about what they're planning for 2027 is there's not going to be an off ramp, but they're thinking about setting different nutrient limits. They're talking with EPA about having modestly less restriction for the small plants, but not having an off ramp. So there would be a total nitrogen limit and there would be a total phosphorus limit, but it wouldn't be the kind of, you can't sample down, you can't read that little, which is what the medium and the large are having to meet. I did ask for targets for what we should be planning for the next 20 years. And they are no longer providing targets. And the response was talk to engineering. And those guys are pretty reasonable. And I need to set up something. Engineering's a big department now with the infrastructure bill. They had a whole bunch of projects going on and they've hired a bunch of people. But I'll reach out to the people I've been working with and try to set up a call to talk about what we should plan for.
Of course, I was just thinking there may not be an EPA in the future.
Yeah, there may not be.
Anyway, this is a good discussion. I think what's been said about trying to have, at least one, if not a couple, kind of public outreach events where we put the public on notice that we're having to think about these things, that we might have to raise sewer rates. Not hugely, but enough that it's gonna impact people. So let's plan on that, and then let's kind of stay tuned with all these other discussions about what's actually gonna come down the pipe.
Can we call the meeting, everybody poops, and here's why we have to pay for it?
I love it. I love it so much.
Mhm.
Not kidding.
Poop emoji everywhere.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments in the room, on Zoom? Come on, Nate, he's unprepared about these things.
Okay.
He's a plumber.
Yeah, I'm good on this one. So what I've come across is, of course, I go through water testing here. And I know we have a high iron, high alkali, and then also we also have quite, depending on where you're at in this area, quite a bit of radon in the water as well. And then working up in Mountain Village, Telluride, El Sardo, Ridgway, this surrounding area, what I've noticed, what those guys do up there in the mountain there is they raise their rates by about 2% a year on their tap-in fees. So tap-in fees, and we're a small area here. The more we have people building here, the more cluttered we're gonna get here, which then also adds to the strain on the infrastructure as well. EPA, so it's like having limits. So I think we're educated and evolved enough to know the limits of the ecosystem downriver here. And so I don't think those limits are gonna change a whole lot in the future if we're already set right now and we're going, okay, our limits are already kind of high, with the iron and everything else there. So I would say, work on getting to the state average on our fees, sewer fees, as far as sewage waste fees. Let's get up to that. That way, when we ask for the grants, it shows that, hey, we're not below average, we're right at average there. So I'd say start, as much as I hate to say it, start increasing,
Ratchet it up.
rationing it up there, to kind of start ramping it up to get prepared for the application for the grants there. And then, but yeah, it's like, if we get behind, as you've seen on most cities and towns there, if they get behind on their infrastructure, it becomes a huge problem there and everything gets overloaded. And I've had to deal with out in Denver, is everything starts backing up. They have more backups, which create more floods, more flooded basements, which creates more waste as far as remodels and rebuilds. And it's just a waste. So if we stay on top of the infrastructure and then on top of our waste treatment plant, would be beneficial in the long run for sure. So I mean, if we have, it's just getting down to brass tacks, if we have to raise rates to stay on top of things, that's just reality there. Yeah.
And I think what you're hearing from us is that we're aware of that. We just wanted, the way we do things here in Ridgway is we try and keep the public as informed as possible ahead of time, so we don't have people being shocked by it.
Just what I'm seeing up in Elk Meadows there is that, talking to our waste guy there, our pH is starting to get a little bit high, just by point high, but it's because we got so much new build going on up there. And with HVAC systems, like going in with plumbing and heating systems, the condensation off of those systems is really acidic. And so that's what we're having issues with on keeping our waste discharge right now, is we're still by like a point high and we're still trying to figure out how to get that waste discharge, the acidic level down.
Mine has like a limestone thing that it has to go through, and I was like, why, what's that for?
Yep, neutralizer, pH neutralizer kit, yep, so that's my 2 cents.
All right, thanks, Nate. Enough direction?
I think we have the direction we need. Joanne, anything else, or do you feel like we need some additional direction?
I think I'm good.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Item number 13, review and action on intergovernmental agreement between Town of Ridgway and Erie County concerning noxious weed management and control services.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So you all are asked to review and take action on this IGA between the county and the town concerning noxious weed management and control services. It's the same as it ever was, kind of thing. The term of the IGA is for the 2026 calendar year. And if approved, the county would be retained again as county has been for the last several years to continue the services of conducting surveys of noxious weeds on town-owned property and making recommendations as to appropriate treatment, and then conducting treatments, including application of herbicide treatments as approved by the town and in locations determined by the town and the county together. So again, it's been updated to reflect the current calendar year. And the fees have been adjusted. The county has, as I think a lot of you know, the county is going through a process to figure out some budget shortfall stuff and raising fees. So their fees have been raised by 25%, at least as it relates to the services, but the not to exceed amount is still at the $3,000 that we've had for the last several years. And we haven't really come close to that amount, but the reason this is before you all is because it's worth saying that noxious weed management has been a hot button topic in Ridgway over the years. So we'd like to make sure this is out there for everyone to understand.
Okay.
And we budgeted this amount, 3,000.
I do want to add, as the weed board member or liaison for the council, that Julie's felt like she's made a lot of progress on some of our worst weed infestations here in the town. And my science teacher ecologists definitely listen to folks when they want to complain about herbicide use, but reminder that combating noxious weeds promotes native plants, which promote healthy ecosystems. And so if we just throw up our hands and accept it, we don't have the manpower to pull all these weeds, and some of them are not going to be receptive to pulling and do need herbicide application. So just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah. And your point is really well taken, that there have been some really serious dents being made in issues around the county and around town. So it's paying off, and I think Julie does an amazing job of being very selective, both in what she applies and how she applies it and the manner she applies it. So none of us like having to use herbicides, but noxious weeds are noxious weeds, and sometimes that's what you have to do. So as Preston said, this is on the agenda to make sure everybody is aware that we're renewing this agreement with the county, and I want to make sure if anybody either here in the room or on Zoom has questions, please speak up. Please let us know. And if not, then are there any questions from council, or somebody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the town of Ridgway and Erie County concerning noxious weed management and control services.
Beth makes the motion, Josie seconds, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. That passes 5-1. Yeah. Portable. Yeah. One.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, that takes us to the next item, request for authorization of staff to expend budgeted funds and enter into a contract to purchase a fleet vehicle for the Public Works Department. Preston.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So council earmarked funds in the fiscal year 2026 budget to purchase a hybrid pickup truck for the Public Works Department. And this truck would be for, excuse me, for Jeff Rivera, Public Works Maintenance Operator, longtime operator for the department, to drive on a day-to-day basis. And we've explored a number of used truck options that all fall within the budget amount of $45,000. And all the options are hybrids, as directed by you all during the budget process, budget preparation process. And as you all know, our procurement policy states that supplies, goods, equipment, services in excess of $25,000 require your approval. And so we're looking for authorization to purchase one of the available used hybrid pickup truck options pending more research and verification. At a price not to exceed $40,000. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Preston?
Does it have a CD player?
No questions.
I move to authorize staff to expend budgeted funds and enter into a contract to produce a hybrid pickup truck for the Public Works Department at a price not to exceed $40,000.
Seconded.
Motion by Beth, seconded by Holly. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. That brings us to the Marshals year-end report for 2025. Shane, you want to come up and highlight anything? It's a great report. I was really impressed. Particularly, I mean, I just want to point out right out of the gate, how a lot of the numbers have gone down over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was reviewing it.
Yeah.
Kind of the fluctuation. Last year, or in 24, seemed like we had
It's kind
a
of jump.
substantial, it was kind of a jump. And then this year it kind of balanced out.
Yeah.
So, no real highlights, the notable activities. I've worked with CDOT to change the light configuration. And we've seen an improvement in the accidents so far there. I know it was not a popular decision by a lot of residents, but, it seems to be helping at that intersection. We've avoided some major injury accidents, I think.
A family member of mine got hit there for the very same reason, so it's happened a lot.
Yeah, and people just thought they had the right of way with the yellow arrow.
It's funny.
And they didn't, so.
Which is so interesting, because there's literally a sign that says, yellow flashing, you are to on you.
Yeah.
That's all.
People are funny, aren't they?
So, and, as always, we've made a priority for the school safety. And we've worked quite a bit this year. And one thing that's made a difference, both Justin Westbrook, our newest deputy, he was part-time, and Brandon they spent a large amount of time in the Olathe schools as SROs with Montrose County when they both worked there. And so, that's been really good because they're trained in all the policies and procedures in the schools. And both of them work great with the students. They're super with both schools. So that's been a really big part of, and as always, they have a great staff at the schools and we work closely with them when any issues come up, so.
I was actually at the school today, being Elsa for the preschool. And I saw one of the officers there today.
Yeah.
Doing good stuff.
Right.
So, and the only other thing we had this year that was kind of a major drag on at least my time and several agencies was the CGIS audit, but it's required every 3 years. And we realized this year we were pretty far out of compliance, not by any purposeful reason, but just, through the years, things change and everything, and they're getting really stringent on that information sharing just due to people's concerns over and information being stolen and used and that kind of stuff. So that was really a learning experience, and but we're up to snuff with everything, and
I'm glad you got through it.
yeah, it took 6 months.
Yeah. 50 to 100 hours, yeah.
Yeah, so, and we have great IT staff, and
now you're on to the
Yeah, they're watching about
That's
it.
great.
There'll be some things that we need to improve on, you know, like our office safety and that kind of stuff, but those will be coming through the next few years.
That's good.
Do you have like a report from the takeaway of our audits and some of those things that are coming our way? At least they
No,
give you a
it's
very
just-
digestible.
Yeah, they don't really offer information up front. They just all of a sudden change the procedures, and then when you get into them, they're not very supportive and they're not very helpful. So you have to kind of research and figure out what they want, but some of the things are just, you know, like key fob doors and or security doors and that kind of stuff that we'll have to look into. That they, because like my office has to be closed almost all the time because all our secure information is stored in there, so.
Sounds efficient.
Those kind of things, so we're gonna have to go to some, either a keypad or key card system. To access the offices at some point. We'll do some research as always and figure out the best systems for us. Any other questions or?
Questions for Shane? All right, any questions? We're down to one person in the room here and you lost Zoom on your screen there, Preston.
So I'm putting the Erie County alert out, so.
What's that?
I'm doing a
He's
Erie
doing
County
a
alert.
thing.
real quick.
Gotcha. I can see what I can see for somebody. Anybody on Zoom have any questions for Shane on this report? Seeing none, we'll let you go. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks.
Shane.
Thanks, Preston. I know you're in the middle of handling this water leak.
And it's all resolved now, so just.
Oh, great.
Water back. Manager's report.
Yeah.
Commissioner Neese came in and mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to highlight to you all. So the level 3 charger conversation, that may be coming y'all's way next month. And then the our way, transit pilot route, yeah, just the approach for this final year, what's ahead, schedule and timing implications. So, we'll report back on that. Mark Whiteman's coming back this summer to do landscaping. That's,
Wow.
really excited about that. Our Prop 123 unit count commitment, not just Ridgway's, but our region commitment has been achieved. And I think we're the first, I believe we're the first regional commitment that has been achieved. I think Silverton is the first.
Silverton is the first community.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge and a lot of foresight. I remember Commissioner Neese, Leo Caselli, others were plugging this regional commitment several years ago, and just to have the foresight to approach it regionally was pretty cool because a number of those units from Erie have been allotted to Erie County and same to Ridgway, so that we can meet. So that's huge. Shout out Jordan Batchelder. He is now a residential building inspector, certified residential building inspector. Obtained that certification and we'll work towards the commercial side here in the months ahead. And then Shane mentioned Justin Westbrook earlier. He is now he's transitioned into the full-time deputy physician. And then an update, quick update on the local impact accelerator grant. Very interesting process. It's been announced that Ridgway has been awarded funding north of $1.3 million to advance all the stuff that was in that application. But there is a very complicated negotiation process going on between staff and the Colorado Energy Office now to make sure that the scope of work and the budget justification is there, and just everything needs to be buttoned up and all the I's dotted and T's crossed. So it's a good, thorough process, but somewhat complicated. So I'm hoping, I think everyone's hoping that next month we can come back to you all and have a grant contract for review and forge ahead. Have you all consider forging ahead on that? And then an update on the Ridgway event calendar through the Localist platform. Lee and Tara have been working really hard representing Ridgway, and I know the city of Uray folks as well to get that platform going. And I know we've all heard about it, but there's some trainings coming up next month next week, February 18th and February 19th. One's in Uray, one's here at Ridgway in the Decker Room for folks to learn about that platform and understand how you can host your events. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Preston? I'm excited to see the extended producer responsibility thing moving forward even further. And I was interested to see the incident management system training stuff that, I mean, I've taken some of those courses, but I didn't realize there were quite so many that we were supposed to take. Glenn's been pretty good about forwarding emails when these classes are offered or these trainings. So I'll be curious to see if we can see more of that. And let's see.
So we're supposed to take these?
Okay, so, some of them, the IS 100, 200, actually, I believe both 700 and 800 are, I believe, online trainings through the National Incident Management Training System. The DHSEM one is an in-person, and Glenn brought it here last summer, and I took that one.
That's like a whole day.
It was like a whole day thing, so I was excited to see it be over the summer, but taking at least IS 100 and 200, they're not super long, but it's going to give you an idea of how the structure of an incident goes, and give you an idea of basically our role to the side and letting the incident management system run. And so I actually reached out to Glenn to make sure I couldn't find this in the operation plan because I was just not finding it. But with our super dry winter that we're having, anticipating the chance of wildfire in the 4-H center being utilized as an operation center or an evacuation center or any number of things.
Would it be used even though it's closed?
Well, that is a part of the conversation that the county commissioners had this week, but that's a different piece. Even then, I mean, that operations center with communications could very well be here, depending on what things are happening. So, they're not hard. They don't take super long.
Okay.
Do them now.
Just talk to Preston to get something up.
The NIMS ones, you should be able to sign yourself up for, and then Glenn will reach out if they schedule the DHSEM 1002.
Okay, so you just go online?
Yep, that NIMS, you should be able to create an ID and then take those courses online.
Thanks, Beth.
Yep.
What else? I don't know about that joke, quite honestly.
Agreed, Mayor.
I didn't love it.
Matthew,
Sorry, TJ.
Matthew might have objected, could be microbrewery.
Yeah, that's my first thought is, yeah, that one was the best. Gotta have a weak one once in a while, right?
Oh my.
And then, election coming up, Friday is the deadline for submitting.
Yeah, do I need to hear?
Yeah, Nate, did you know that?
Oh,
There's an election coming up for council?
he doesn't live in town.
Oh.
He lives in Vista. Josie, what was your question?
I remember I said last time.
It's in town.
It's just.
Not Vista Terrace, didn't mean.
Well, it's not a.
You know, my mistake.
That's okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. I couldn't remember for, God, the word notary. Do you notarize or do I notarize the bank? I feel like we did it at the bank last time and you were like, I knew it, good. Okay, I just need to bring mine in.
She charges a lot though.
We're definitely gonna have an election because Terry's not running.
You're not.
And I've heard rumors that there are several people putting their name in the hat, so it'd be kind of fun to have an election for a change.
Are you gonna make your signs?
No.
I will try, I will tell all of the people I know that April seventh, the seventh.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Which is it?
Seventh.
It's election day?
Yes.
Pam,
Thanks, Shane.
will there be some sort of absentee process if it's not possible for them to come to town hall on that day? Okay, and that'll be just look out on social media for that info. The town, okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah, since 22.
For being elected.
That's the same thing.
Was I me?
This is my fourth term and I've never been,
Yeah, 'cause last year was
election
maybe in y'all.
all four times.
Even
Are you making yard signs?
I'm not up.
I'm right here with.
No, it's me and Terry's. Terry.
Yeah, Terry.
And Kevin.
John.
Our two seats and then John, yeah. Cause last year was Michelle Beth.
All right, we have a couple of executive session items.
Bo's been waiting patiently.
You guys have had such a positive meeting with just great work that you're doing, so
Oh my God.
we'll take all of that momentum into this executive session. If we could get a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on a specific legal question with respect to Ridgway Suites LLC DBA Mountain Lodge and its proposed use in compliance with the Ridgway Municipal Code. And then there will be a second component to the executive session, which will be for discussion of a personnel matter concerning the town manager's annual performance evaluation pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024F.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Michelle, seconded by Polly. All in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimously. We've got a couple people on Zoom that need to hop off. Deb Brooks and somebody on his iPhone. We're about to go into executive session. We'll come back.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks for participating.
It's nice when people show up. Most people don't.
Go fast,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor, just, I don't see the press, but I don't anticipate that there will be an action item on the executive session.
Okay.
Yes,
There was for press.
not, like, what about?
For the first executive matter?
Yeah, well, yeah.
You're gonna combine both of them.
Yeah,
They were gonna have an action after both of them.
yeah, okay, we can do that. Are you good managing the tape?
Yeah, I'll turn it back on at the end of.
The first portion.
Is that one of ours?
Would you like me to stay?
I don't mind. I would love for you to say. Hey, can I ask you a question real quick, not to derail it? Is everyone signed up for the Great County Alerts?
Yeah, I got it.
Yes, but
Everyone get?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's
No.
important.
I haven't gotten it
At
yet.
7:13, it said water services been shut off.
I got, has there been a second one?
7:49, it said
I-
that she was.
I haven't gotten it, and I've gotten it in the past.
Okay.
I mean, I need to.
I got the geofence, so just kind of did, obviously a little geofence, so perhaps what's your address to sign up on?
Oh, is it Marie Street, 267 Marie?
It might be under what you,
Do you want me to ask Jake if he got it?
you could, but the issue was over on Chipeta.
Well, but I'm just curious, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I'd have to look up the
Yeah.
geofence, I just did a big
I mean,
rectangle,
I
so.
went on Moffett and I got
You
it.
should have got, it, okay.
Somebody's on Zoom with just listed as an iPhone. I'm sorry, you need to hop off because we're about to have an executive session. If you're still listening,
We'll give you like 10 more seconds and
you might have to
gently kick you off.
watch off. There,
Right.
Thanks, have a good rest of your night.
iPhone.
okay, thank you.
Are you ready to proceed, Mayor?
Yes.
All right, so we've got two items for the executive session. One is the legal advice portion, and the second is the town town manager review. On the legal item, I don't anticipate that there will be a formal motion, after the executive session. Sounds like there's the potential for action item after the second item.
Which is on the agenda.
It is.
In regular session.
I thought there were like 3 different choices on the legal item.
It's just direction. It's
Yeah, it would be the direction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if we're ready, we'll go ahead and start the tape. It is February 11th and the time is 8:56 PM. For the record, I am the town attorney. 7:56. Excuse me. As required by the open meeting law, this executive session is being electronically recorded. Also present at the executive session are the following persons.
I like Kroger.
Beth Lakin.
Joe Clark.
Michelle Montague.
Terry Skyler.
Josie Scoville.
Rustin Neal.
There are two portions of this executive session. The first portion is an executive session for the receipt of legal advice pursuant to 24-6-4024B regarding Ridgway Lodge and Suites LLC DBA Mountain Lodge and its proposed use in compliance with the Ridgway Municipal Code. We will take this executive session portion first. With that, I would caution each participant to confine all the discussion to the stated purpose of the executive session and remind everyone that no formal action may occur in the executive session. At any point in the executive session, any participant believes that the discussion is going outside the proper scope of the execution, please interrupt the discussion and make an objection. As the attorney for the town of Ridgway, it is my position that the